Good morning, everybody. Today we are starting the last lesson in Chapter 9. It's 9.8. We're factoring polynomials completely. So what we learned in a couple lessons before is if I take something like 3x squared plus 6x, I see that I can take out something out of both of these terms, and that I can take out 3x. If I take out 3x from 3x squared, I'm just left with x. If I take out 3x from 6, I'm left with 2. So basically what we are going to do here is take out what's in common. So I'm going to put these into two groups. What I see in both of these groups that's common is the thing that's in the parentheses. Now that is a minus 6. So once I take those out, what I'm left with then is just 10 minus 3a. Basically all we're doing today is taking out what's in common. Here, if I make these two into groups, what I see is now they're in different order, but I can still see that we have 13 plus x in both of them. And what I'm left with then is x. Now this one is just a minus sign, but I know that I can put a 1 there, so it's x minus 1. Next page, we are factoring these polynomials by grouping. So grouping means to put multiple things into a group. So notice how many terms we have here. In each of these problems we have 4 terms. So I'm going to make groups of 2. If I make a group of this 2, I can see what I have in common. Looks like in those 2 terms, what I have in common is x squared. Now if I take out x squared from x cubed, all I'm left with is x. If I take out x squared from 3x squared, all I'm left with is 3. So that's my factor in my first group. Next, what it looks like I can take out is I can take out a 5. Now, when I take out that 5, 5x divided by 5 is going to give me x. 15 divided by 5 is going to give me 3. And there's my groups. Now, if you notice, we have x plus 3 in both of our factors. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that same thing there. So here I'm going to make a couple groups. First one, looks like I can take out y squared. Now if I take out y squared out of y cubed, I'm left with just y. If I take out y squared from negative 9y squared, I'm left with negative 9. In the second group here, now it looks like I got nothing in common between y and negative 9. So I know that I can take out just a 1. I can take out a 1 from both of them, and I still get y minus 9, which is still the same as what I took out of the first one. Alright, I want you guys to try these two. Factor them all out. Make groups of 2 because we got 4 terms in each of those. So, factor those out. Alright, here we are factoring these polynomials completely. So I have 3 terms in my first problem. They have 4, negative 4, and negative 8. Now when I see that, it looks like to me that I can take a 4 out of all of them. They also all have b, so I'm going to take out a b. So I'll have 4b. If I take out a 4b from 4b cubed, I'm left with single or b squared. If I take out 4b from negative 4b squared, I'm left with a negative b. And if I take out 4b from negative 8b, I am left with a negative 2. So now what I need to factor is I need to factor b squared minus b minus 2. So I'm going to draw my diamond. the top of the diamond gets a negative 2b squared, and the bottom gets a negative 1b. Now I can see that both of my terms, the sides of my diamonds are going to be a negative 2b and a positive 1b, which will add up to negative 1 but multiply to negative 2. So if I draw my box then, I get b squared, negative 2, negative 2b, and 1b. My factors then become b and b, a negative 2, and a positive 1. So I get b plus 1 times b minus 2. Now, don't forget, we still have this 4b. That 4b comes down, so it comes right in front of our factors. Here, if I take a look at this, looks to me like I can factor out a positive 3. And this is c to the 9th and c to the 7th, so it looks like I can factor out c to the 7th out of both of those. When I do that, I'm left with 3c to the 7th times 25c squared minus 3. Well, nope, not minus 3 because we took out the 3. So this is actually minus 1. So let's see if I can factor this. I'm going to draw the diamond. I'll get negative 25c squared. b I don't have, so it'll be a 0c. Now it looks like I can get a negative 5c and a positive 5c to factor out into that. So I have 25 and negative 1, negative 5c, and positive 5c. Alright, let's factor this then. Looks like I'm going to need a 5 on both sides. This will be a 5c and this will be a 5c. Then if I have negative 1 here and positive 1 here, 1 times negative 1 gives us negative 1. So I found my answer. My answer then is 5c minus 1 times 5c plus 1. Now don't forget what we took out, which was 3c to the 7th. So that goes in front. Alright, so if I take a look at this one, looks like I can't factor anything out. So what I'm going to need to do then is do my diamond. So I get negative 35m squared, negative 5m, so what adds to negative 5 and multiplies to negative 35? Well, negative 35 I know has 7 and 5. It has 35 and 1. Let's see, what else does it have? Well, it looks like this one is not possible. Unless I'm missing something, but it doesn't look like I am. So it doesn't look like this one is possible to solve. So I guess we can't factor this one. Here, if I take out, well, this one looks like I need to take out a z. So what I'm going to be left with is z squared minus 81 equals 0. So then I would factor that. Because this has a squared, I gotta look to see if I can factor it. So let me check. I would have negative 81 z squared, and 0 looks like I can because I can put negative 9 z and positive 9 z. So then if I do this, I get negative 81, 1z squared, negative z, or 9z, and positive 9z. I get 1z and 1z, negative 9 and a positive 9. So I took out a z. I'm left with z minus 9 and z plus 9. That equals 0. So my two zeros are going to be z equals 9 and z equals negative 9. Alright, so now we have to solve this equation. This looks like something I can group, because I have 4 terms. So if I group these, what I'm going to do is group this, and I'm going to group this. So we have x cubed plus x squared. I can take out an x squared out of both of those. Then once I do that, I'm left with x plus 1. Next one, it looks like I can take out a negative 4. And I'm left with x plus 1. So now I forgot to do this earlier, but now what can I take out of both of these groups themselves? Well, I figured out that I could take out an x plus 1 and an x plus 1, so I have x plus 1. And then what I'm left with is x squared minus 4 equals 0. Now, when I have an x squared here, what I need to do is check to see if this is factored completely. So what I'm going to do is draw a diamond. I'd have a 1x squared, or actually a negative 4x squared, 0x here. looks like I can take a negative 2x and a positive 2x. So this is not factored completely yet. So if I take this then, I got to factor this to get 1x squared and negative 4. Negative 2x and positive 2x gives me x and x, negative 2 and positive 2. So factored completely then, I have x plus 1. That came from right here. X minus 2 and x plus 2. Now these all equal 0. So I need to set all of these equal to 0. So x plus 1 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. And x plus 2 equals 0. If I subtract 1 here, I get x equals negative 1. Add 2 here, x equals 2. And subtract 2 here, get x equals a negative 2. Alright, so we are going to factor these polynomials completely. What I see is just an ax squared and a c. So I'm going to draw my diamond. Get negative 1x squared and a 0x. Looks like write that again, 0x. Looks like I can take a negative 1x and a positive 1x. So my answer then will be x plus 1 and x minus 1. Here I'd have a 1x and a 0x. So now this seems like it's going to be impossible because nothing plus anything what I need for a 1 is a 1 times 1. Now that's the only thing that I could have, or a negative 1 times a negative 1, but neither of those add up to 0. So this one is not possible. And then I think we're going to skip these word problems. So it's your lucky